Hey, kiddos. I figured I'd just post a video discussing the responses that I saw on Flipgrid. I didn't actually know if you guys had used Flipgrid before, but all of the videos seem to be pretty good. For the most part, I did see like a fan and somebody's like they had their screen pointed up, but at least it wasn't just like a super dark screen. But yeah, so overwhelmingly, the person that was labeled as being responsible for Doodle's death was his brother. Now, it's also really important to note that the brother is also the narrator. And so some people said brother and then they would say narrator as if it was a separate person. The narrator is the brother. 99% of people to 100% of people said the brother was responsible, and the brother was responsible because he overworked his younger brother. Like, he pushed him. And he pushed him because he was ashamed or embarrassed or he was prideful. Elsa mentioned that the brother's streak of cruelty caused him to make some decisions that could have had a lingering impact on Doodle, which is, that's a fair statement to say. And I did think it was also interesting that Ben and Charlie mentioned not only the brother, but also Doodle's health. And so I believe Ben said that while the brother could be responsible, he's not necessarily directly responsible because Doodle had these massive health problems. And then Charlie said that the brother was partially responsible, but ultimately, Doodle does have health problems. Somebody mentioned that maybe the storm caused it. You didn't have to choose a who and a what. You chose, did you think what? Was it Doodle's health? Was it a who? You just chose one of them. And so, for the most part, everybody seemed to really be on the same page as what you guys were seeing in the story, as far as the brother was pushing Doodle past his point. And so even though there was a storm and he got stuck in the storm, I think it's also really important to note that before the storm happened, we saw that dead scarlet ibis. We saw that the bird died, and we saw that Doodle pushed his own self past a level of exhaustion because he connected with that bird and he wanted to bury that bird. And the whole family watched him do this. Not a single one of them came outside to help him bury this bird. And so then him and his brother go out and they play at the swamp, and then the brother makes him row against the tide, which is always pushing the boat further away from the tide. And then the storm happens. And so there was a lot of little domino effects. And I think it really can be attributed to maybe the brother did some things that he shouldn't have done. But at the same time, if Doodle didn't have these health problems, would he have died? We don't know that. It's a story. It's left up to our interpretation. A lot of people for the company man, it was actually pretty split. It was either Phil or Phil's work. I did have some people say that the company was really responsible. And while the company is kind of an enemy or like the bad guy in the story because they are promoting this level of work, not everybody that works at that company would work to the same degree as Phil did. Phil was one of 6 VPs, and he was one of the few that could be president if the president stepped down or died or retired or whatever it was. And so Phil, ultimately, he's a grown man, he's an adult, he's making the conscious choice to work 6-day weeks. When everybody else gets a 4-day week, executives don't get a 4-day week. So realistically, they would get a 5-day week. So he works even on the weekends. He works past the 9 to 5 typical thing. He's not very active. He does like one golf game a month. And golf is not an overly active sport. If you did not get curious about what an actual coronary thrombosis is, it's essentially a blood clot. And it's the formation of a blood clot inside the blood vessel of a heart. And so that blood clot restricts flow to the heart. It can have tissue damage, or you can have a heart attack because of that blood clot. Now, how do you overcome those blood clots? You eat a healthy, balanced diet. You are more physically active. You keep to a healthy weight. You don't smoke. You reduce your alcohol. You keep your blood pressure under control. You take medicine. And we know from the story that he does not eat a healthy diet plan. He eats egg salad sandwiches every day, but he thinks that balances out because he doesn't actually smoke. And it doesn't ever mention that he drinks, but what he also does is sit at a desk all day. And so that's not being very physically active. And so we don't know if he's on any type of medication or anything like that, but his work and his workaholic attitude is going to push him past other levels of stress. Now, you can get high blood pressure due to being overweight. You can have high blood pressure due to amounts of stress. And it's hard to say, did he actively make the choice? Like, maybe if he had the ghost of Christmas past come to visit him, maybe he would have changed. But I believe Reagan used the fact that Ellen Goodman used an idiom such as "you work yourself to death," and so she did a literal manifestation of Phil actually working himself to death. And let me see. I think Lily also really pointed at his stress of trying to be a really good VP, trying to possibly go president at some point. That stress does do something to your body negatively. It was really important to note also that his survivors and his dearly beloved, right? It's not actually dearly beloved. If you have to go around the neighborhood and ask about your father, then you clearly don't have a very good relationship with that father. Or you never say anything when you're alone with each other. And so this statement should show you that I'm highlighting that the youngest son said, should show you the type of mentality that Phil had as far as work. And so the boy said that my father and I only board here. And so meaning they're only at the house to sleep. They're not at the house to have a home. They're not actually considering it to be a home. They only sleep at the house. They're not hanging out on a Sunday, watching the Super Bowl, anything like that. I do think y'all's Flipgrid videos were really, really good. I'm very impressed by those. Very proud of the work that you guys put in. I did make them active, so I think you can go in and watch your own, or you can watch other people's. And it's really interesting to see y'all's viewpoints. I always still get tickled when you don't have a mask on because you look way younger. It's I forget you're 12 or 13 until you put your mask on. And some of y'all did really good little video tidbits. Charlie made his Scarlet Ibis piece, breaking news. This little boy is dead. And then I got to see Lana's dog. Lily has some super cool mandala tapestry thing in her room that's super cool looking. But thank you guys for doing the work that you did for the Flipgrid. That is your discussion grade for this week that's in the grade book. And then starting next week, we're going to look at 2 other short stories that are very, very good. And I'm very, very excited about them. Have a great weekend.